Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And if you were watching the program yesterday, we played Jen Psaki stating that basically, well, she stumbled, of course. She didn't really say it very well. She was having trouble speaking. She was having like a Zombie Joe moment, but really it wasn't a Zombie Joe moment because she doesn't suffer from severe dementia, right? She probably doesn't have to be all hopped up on amphetamines and other things to be brought out into public. But what she probably was feeling was her heart racing as she openly explained the new fascism and thought police and how they were going to administer a ministry of truth with social media. It goes beyond Facebook. And they are now recategorizing everything that goes against the predator class narrative as hate speech. If you question the science of a man like Anthony Fauci, it is now hate speech. And what better way to do that than to bring out this white paper who accuses this dozen people of being basically 65% of the misinformation about boopins, okay? And we're on YouTube, so we got to be real careful here. Just reading this document, we got to be real careful with what I counter with. Because this document makes it clear, they want you deplatformed all the way. In fact, they profile each of these 12 people and what platforms they're on, and they say Google, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of them. And, you know, this bootlicking piece of human authoritarian garbage, okay, I'm going to give you a little glimpse into this. Imran Ahmed, this guy, okay, he is the CEO of CCD Hate. Oh, they're countering online digital hate. It's all about hate. And I want to remind people this, okay? I have been classified as harmful content, okay? I'm hurting people, apparently. Hate, hurt, violence. They're categorizing all this speech, and all they can say about me is content that focuses on controversial issues and that is harmful to viewers. What does that even mean? Any issue semantically could be argued as controversial, depending on what take you have. In my opinion, this is the inversion of reality. I'm not hateful. I'm not harmful. I'm not disinformation. I'm not misinformation. And yet, this is how I'm categorized, while Jen Psaki here, gleefully, really, she stumbles through. We're going to play it too, by the way. We're going to play all this. We're going to show you the actual document. We're going to actually read through the whole thing. But we're going to have to do the vast majority of that over on Rockfin. You're watching this on YouTube. You might as well make the free Rockfin account now. So I think somebody in my, I forget what they said. I think they said it was the Disinfo dozen. Ha, 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 ha. Well, no, they actually have a quote-unquote white paper here. The Center for Countering Digital Hate. It's hate now. And forget the executive summary. I downloaded the whole report. We're going to go through the whole thing before we get there and we run through it. Because, look, you know, there's a lot of narrative out there, and I'm no fan of Zuckerfluck, right? But, of course, right here was what I was looking. Facebook versus Joe. They're killing people. And by the way, their numbers, they say 12 people, 65% of the content. Their own numbers make no sense. And believe me, they don't want just 12 people deplatformed at all. They're monitoring all the accounts. They don't want private groups. They don't want messages, period. They want to censor it all. They want your text messages as reported in Politico. Okay? And it says it right here. This is the Ministry of Truth rolling out. All right? So before we get there, if you are watching on YouTube, thumbs up, subscribe, share. As you know, we were just kicked off for 2 weeks. All my documentary films are over there. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. Okay? Remember, I want to get to 30,000 before anybody else in independent media. We can do it. And you're going to want to do it now, especially when I start reading through this, because there's certain information I can't share with you. They act like, first of all, these people, maybe I've done 1 or 2 videos talking about Robert Kennedy Jr. Occasionally, Del Bigtree is brought up, right? Mercola every once in a while in the comments. Otherwise, Rashid Buttar, he was, banned pretty early. I remember Gary Franchi had him on Next News Network. So, these people that they're acting like, or they've already deplatformed a bunch of the information. And we're going to go through all that. Remember, if you have a premium account, you can now buy a year-long premium account and endorse me. That's a huge, huge way to support this program. And then you get everybody's premium stuff. I want to thank Odyssey for backing up my YouTube channel, because they could take it, especially with this guy calling for these new restrictions. That same guy that we just showed, Jamie Deluxe, did a whole video on how he got David Icke deplatformed. Oh, we need to deplatform voices, people, ideas. We got the GoFundMe down below if you do want to support me that way. Guys, let's get into it, okay? So here you go. This is the Disinfo dozen, okay? And this is the dude right here, Imran Ahmed. And it's amazing what this thing says. We're going to pull up the whole thing, but first I want to play Psaki and, her, stumbling through the fact that authoritarianism and working with social media companies, SMS companies, putting out their government message, their authoritative, predator class, unquestionable message of truth. The ministry of truth is here.
Go ahead, Alex.
Thanks, Jen. Can you talk a little bit more about this request for tech companies to be more aggressive in policing misinformation? Has the administration been in touch with any of these companies, and are there any actions that the federal government can take to ensure their cooperation? Because we've seen from the start there's not a lot of action on some of these platforms.
I mean, first of all, fuck you, lady. How about that? How dare you frame the question begging for more censorship? What is that over there on the side of your lip there, honey? I usually don't get into people's physical appearances, but did we have a breakout? I don't know. Having your way with too much authoritarian uh-ohs. Who knows? I don't want to assume, that she identifies as a male or female. She could be non-binary. She could identify as a unicorn. She's asking that type of question.
Sure. Well, first, we are in regular touch with these social media platforms.
Awesome.
And those engagements typically happen through members of our senior staff, but also members of our COVID-19 team. Given, as Dr. Murthy conveyed, this is a big issue of misinformation, specifically on the pandemic. In terms of actions, Alex, that we have taken, or we're working to take, I should say, from the federal government, we've increased disinformation research and tracking within the Surgeon General's office. We're flagging problematic posts for
problematic posts. Right, they're going to high quality posts over low quality posts, authoritative sources. All of this is semantical. It's problematic. How about that? I had some problematic videos taken down. Didn't get strikes for a lot of them, although they did give me strikes for mentioning a certain thing that we'll only talk about once we go over to Rockfin, Jen, because you obviously already have that authoritative boot on the throat of free speech, and it's here at YouTube.
Or Facebook that spread disinformation. We're working with doctors and medical professionals to connect to connected medical experts with popular who are popular with their audiences with accurate information and boost trusted content. So we're helping get trusted content out there.
She's helping get trusted content out there. She can barely talk because she knows what she's doing.
We also created the COVID Community Corps to get factual information into the hands of local messengers.
COVID Community Corps for local messaging. Awesome. Great job, Jen.
And we're also investing, as you all have seen, in the president's, the vice president's, and Dr. Fauci's time in meeting with influencers who also have large reaches to a lot of these target audiences who can spread and share accurate information. You saw an example of that yesterday. I believe that video will be out tomorrow.
Look how she smiled. We had an 18-year-old TikToker. She reaches a bunch of people. We've bought them off. Obviously, they're not doing this for free. We've reached out, we've given them money, we've gave them a message, and they have an audience. I mean, wow. Wow. Listen, I get it. I have a very small and minute audience, Jen, compared to all these other people, but you're still gunning for us. You're still gunning for all of us. And you're the one using violent language against the people and trying to criminalize speech everywhere. There's a rise in white supremacy. There's a rise in anti-Asian hate crimes. There's a rise in hate speech regarding the boop boop. So let's write a white paper about it. And don't worry, guys. We're going to bring up that white paper. We're going to get there. We got the whole shabiggity bango right behind me, and we're going to get to it. It's coming. But we got to finish up with Happy Saki and her TikTok influencers.
I think that was your question, Steve, yesterday. I did a full follow-up there. There are also proposed changes that we have made to social media platforms, including Facebook. And those specifically are 4 key steps. One, that they measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform. Facebook should provide publicly and transparently data on the reach of COVID vaccine misinformation, not just engagement, but the reach of the misinformation and the audience that it's reaching. That will help us ensure we're getting accurate information to people.
So we want to know who's consuming this. We already do. But we're legitimizing it in front of you to run algorithms on these hateful individuals, which, are basically people who think differently than we do. We are the thought police. We are here, and we are in full force. We're going to tell you how it's going to happen in real time. I mean, they're not moving quick enough.
This should be provided not just to researchers, but to the public, so that the public knows and understands what is accurate and inaccurate. Second, that we have proposed that they create a robust enforcement strategy that bridges their properties and provides transparency about the rules. So I think this was a question asked before, there's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation. And
by the way, that's a bullshit number after reading this. They provide no hard evidence of that at all. At all. In fact, their own numbers seem to totally refute that. First of all, you have a whole segment, 35%, which isn't these 12 people. They often talk about the top 20 accounts instead of just the 12 people in this paper. So I'm just warning you, they're just criminalizing everybody. They'll say, we got to get these 12 people off. And then, actually, we got to get the other 35% off. And then, we got to just regulate everybody and let everybody know that if you start thinking differently, you'll no longer be able to access these platforms, which will eventually include your phone.
On social media platforms. All of them remain active on Facebook, despite some even being banned on other platforms, including Facebook, ones that Facebook owns. Third, it's important to take faster action against harmful posts. As you all know, information travels quite quickly on social media platforms. Sometimes it's not accurate, and Facebook needs to move more quickly to remove harmful violative posts.
Harmful violative posts. First of all, you guys are never called out on your misinformation, which is over the top ever, and they're never criminally liable, and they actually hurt people.
Posts that will be within their policies for removal often remain up for days. That's too long. The information spreads too quickly. Finally, we have proposed they promote quality information sources in their feed algorithm. Facebook has repeatedly shown that they have the leverage to promote quality information. We've seen them effectively do this in their algorithm over low quality information. And
low quality. You know what? I'm just a college dropout. He's low quality. He doesn't wear a suit or makeup. Low quality. He's low quality information. We're just not going to go with him. So let's do it. Let's start reading this bad boy. And again, I want to remind people to thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. We're eventually going to have to move to the Rockfin because there's just too much of this I'm not going to be able to read. And look, ooh, they're in red. Ooh, they're smiling and eyes. Oh, Robert Kennedy Jr. is mad. He's mad. Oh, platforms must act on these 12 leading online anti-boopity-boopers. The Center for Counter Digital Hate. Digital hate. And like I said, when we get to the Disinfo dozen, 12 pages in, we're definitely going to have to go over to the Rockfin. The Center for Countering Digital Hate is a not-for-profit NGO that seeks to disrupt the architecture of online hate and misinformation. So again, online hate and misinformation obviously are extremely subjective, but they want to disrupt that architecture. They want total control. They want a predator class narrative. Digital technology has changed forever the way we communicate, but relationships share knowledge, set social standards, and negotiate and assert our society's values. Digital spaces have been colonized and their unique dynamics exploited by fringe movements that instrumentalize hate and misinformation. It's all about hate and misinformation, and they try to make this into an industry. No, the real industry of hate and misinformation is by our media military industrial complex and the fascistic technopolies they work with. You got that? You okay? You get it? Right? These movements are opportunistic. No, you people are opportunistic. And it's not listen, Hegelian dialectic all day, bro. For you to dare call people that question this narrative opportunistic is disgusting. Okay? Agile and confident in exerting influence and persuading people. Yeah, I'm confident when I tell people the truth and it's from the heart and I'm reading from mainstream sources that aren't these 12 people that you're talking about, buddy. Thanks. Over time, these actors, they always we're bad actors now if we question the narrative. Right. Okay. Sure. Because again, they want you to be like a nation state or a terrorist organization or a public disclosure organization or an ideologically motivated individual. Can you imagine? I mean, they're trying to make ideologically motivated individuals as terrorists. You got that? Over time, these actors advocating diverse causes, from anti-feminism to ethnic nationalism to denial of scientific consensus. The scientific consensus changes all the time. How fucking dare you? Ethnic nationalism? So again, they always try to make it racial when you question something. It couldn't help but put that in there with the anti-boop boop paper. See how that works? You get it? They have formed a digital counter-enlightenment. Their trolling, disinformation, and skilled advocacy of their causes has re-socialized the offline world for the worse. Oh, the offline world. Oh, you're having effects in the real world? Can't have it here in a digital space. We'll just censor everything. We'll criminalize everything. This guy's a real piece of human trash. Talk about a predator class bootlicker. I mean, I'm sure he's making a lot of money at his NGO. You making a lot of money, Imran? I hope I'm mispronouncing your name. I really do. The center's work combines both analysis and active disruption of these networks. CCDH's solutions seek to increase the economic, political, and social costs of all parts of the infrastructure, the actors, system, and culture that support and often profit from hate and misinformation. I want you to really let that sink in. They want you to economically, politically, and socially hurt. Who's really harmful? If you question people like Anthony Fauci or Bill Gates. That's what this really is, isn't it? Isn't it? Ooh, anti-boopity-boop watch. Okay? Anti-boopity-boop watch. It's an alliance of concerned individuals who are seeking to educate the American public about the dangers of the anti-boop industry. No, you're not. You're trying to criminalize speech, you bastards. As the anti-vaccine industry, and they keep trying to call this an industry. Give me a break. Who's got commercials 24/7 on television going, safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective? Who's got squads of people going door to door right now? This is disgusting. And again, another inversion of reality. Okay? Oh, man. I mean, undermines the rollout. Oh, boy. Of the boop boop vaccine. Yeah. The COVID vaccine, COVID 1984, capitalizing on a heightened sense of hesitancy from the public and targeting communities of color who have already been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. We recognize that this is an all hands on deck moment. That's total bullshit. Targeting people of color? Communities of, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, and again, you think these dozen people that they're talking about, Kennedy, Buttar, Mercola, are targeting anybody? They're targeting everybody that'll listen, dummies. Again, they want to make it racial. We believe we must join together to bring science and facts to the forefront and alert the public to the dangerous agenda of the anti-boopity-boopa leaders. Our efforts center around bringing to light the nefarious activities of the anti-boop industry. Nefarious. I love their language. Nefarious industry. Ethnic hate. I mean, come on. What is going on here? Come on. And working with leading experts to dispute their falsehoods and non-medical disinformation and science. By the way, they do none of that here. Okay? Research and expert analysis. Our goal is to support the efforts of leading health experts, pro-boop-boop researchers and educators, civil rights and business organizations. Really? This is the new civil rights movement. It's everybody against people like you, buddy. Everybody. All races, all creeds, colors, all nations. Humanity versus people like you. Okay? Minions like you. Bootlickers like you. I mean, come on. So let's just read this thing. Again, it's a whole lot of trash. We are in the middle of the deadliest U.S. public health crisis in more than a century. COVID 1984 has killed more than 500,000 Americans and undermined the livelihood of millions of America's workers and families. The virus has had a particularly devastating impact on Black, Latino, and Native American communities, all of whom are suffering severe illness and death from COVID 1984 at rates far greater than the general population. Again, let's make it racial. Let's make it sound like you're a racist and a bigot if you question anything this guy says. Wow. Wow. And at the same time, they act like those are the people that don't want the boop boop, and it's our fault. For reading mainstream articles. We're going to go down some mainstream articles of what the real hesitancy is. Okay? Compounding this crisis, boop-boop rates in communities of color have also lagged. Those for whites and skepticism and distrust of the boops are greater in these marginalized communities. So they always throw in the white thing there too. Like, oh, you still got to get it if you're white. And you know what? There's a lot of people that are white that aren't getting it also, by the way. There's a lot of people just not getting it. With widespread distribution of coronavirus boops, we have an opportunity to turn a corner. Now, the corner was turned last summer. I traveled the country. Can we stop? Can we stop? Can we stop? Our recovery depends on the public's willingness to receive. Oh, is it? It's never been that way before, but thank you. Thank you for your input. And if I disagree with you, I'm conducting a hate speech. I'm harmful content. However, researchers is abroad. I'm a researcher. Who are these researchers? Are increasingly connecting misinformation disseminated via social media to increased boop hesitancy, which will ultimately cause unnecessary. Oh, it's our fault again. Our fault again. Thank you. Oh, man. Living in full view of the public on the internet are a small group of individuals who do not have relevant medical expertise and have their own pockets to line. Like you. What do you make, buddy? You easily make six figures, right? And I wouldn't think that a guy like you, a bootlicker like yourself, Imran. I mean, you're a CEO. Let's see. Let's go over. What is that? You're CEO. NGO. You don't have a good following on Twitter, but you are trolling there. Yeah, you're easily $100,000. Maybe you're making 7 figures a year, bro. I mean, you're shilling pretty hard with this white paper. I mean, you really are. So maybe you are worth $1 million a year to them. I don't know. Imran Ahmed. I have no idea. Right? He's got his own pockets to line, I assure you. Who are abusing social media platforms to misrepresent the threat of COVID and spread misinformation about the safety of boop boops. According to our recent report, anti-boop boop activists on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter reach more than 59 million followers. Oh no. Making these the largest and most important social media platforms for anti-you-know-what. Our research has found anti-you-know-what using social media platforms to target black Americans exploiting higher rates of boop boop hesitancy in the community to spread conspiracies and lies. Again, targeting the black community. Show me all these targets to the black community. They always want to make it racial. Facebook and Google and Twitter have put policies into place to prevent the spread of boop boop misinformation. Yet to date, they have all failed to satisfactorily enforce those policies. You will satisfy me and my overlords in the predator class. Satisfy! All have been particularly ineffective at removing harmful and dangerous misinformation, though the scale of misinformation on Facebook and thus the impact of their failure is larger. Oh, it's Facebook's fault. Further, they have all failed to remove the accounts of prominent, and they want all their accounts removed, right? You know, and they talk about it here. There's 12 anti-vaxxers that play the leading role, okay? See that? And their growth. And by the way, we got a little Tipsky and Hutch. We're going to give a shout out here. Live on YouTube or What's with the Bub. Yes, I am on YouTube as well, but we're coming over to Rockfin very shortly. So if you don't have the free Rockfin account, make the free Rockfin account because as soon as we get to the people after this executive summary, where I just want to point out some of these numbers make no sense whatsoever, okay? For instance, analysis of a sample of anti-boop boop content that was shared or posted on Facebook and Twitter are a total of 812,000 times between February and what's that? The 16th of March 2021, 1st of February, shows that 65% of anti-boops was ambus to these 12 people. So, guys, that's a sample size of 6 weeks, okay, from February to March, and only on Facebook. Okay, and I'm not even sure that's and Twitter, Facebook and Twitter. And then Twitter later, they'll say something like 17%. None of these numbers are backed up like factually. All right? And they talk about how, you know, even though they've all gone against them, they just haven't removed them. All these things are already in place, by the way, putting warnings. Now they want counter articles. They put the Snopes stuff up. They put the USA Today and AP fact checks up. All this is already in place. They just want it for everything and quicker. Okay? Got another tip. Kevin Pass. They do the classic blaming others for what they themselves are guilty of. Seems to be a trend of the irresponsible, ignorant, and intolerant. Yeah, it's an inversion of reality. Okay, but now look. They talk about tracking of 425 anti-boop boop accounts, and it shows that 59.2 million in December, an increase of 877,000. So now it's not 12 people, by the way. And now they go. It shows that 20 anti-vaxxers with the largest followings account for over 2/3. Now, if it's over 2/3, it's over 65%. It's over 66%. That's what 2/3 is, right? Total cross-platform following the 59.2 million. So all these numbers are gobbledygook. And who knows what they're actually framing. I just want to put that out there. All right? And by the way, this isn't like a deep analysis at all. You know, dangerous disinformation will be spread with impunity. So again, they highlight this again because it's their talking point. It's like we're going to build back better. It's like we only have a pandemic of the unvaccinated. That's coming from the CDC, and I heard Zombie Joe state it the other day. That's the only pandemic left. You understand? And these are the disinformation dozen. We're about to break off in a second, guys. Joseph Mercola, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Ty and Charlene Bollinger. So it's not really 12. You know, they count two people as one. Sherry Tempany, Risa Islam, Rashid Buttar, Aaron Elizabeth, Sair G, Kelly Brogan, Christine Northrup, Ben Tapper, and Kevin Jenkins. Oh, we got another tip. Thank you guys so much for supporting the program over at Rockfin. And remember, if you want to make that free account over at Rockfin, we're about to continue over there so we can show you the real disinformation and the real things that are being censored that are not, none of those people or their names are how I found this info. None of them. Zero, zip, zilch. And yet I get censored all the time too. I'll just repeat what I put in the chat before. The Lusitania sank in the Gulf of Tonkin. That's why we need to trust companies that knowingly created the opioid epidemic. Otherwise, the Twin Towers will fall, leaving the air safe for us all to breathe. Yeah, no, they've never lied about things like that. I get it. So if you want me to show you articles like that, headlines like that might cause hesitancy, right? Or something like that, which we can't talk about here, or something like this, which we can't talk about here, or that retracted study, which we can't talk about here, right? Or maybe Sandra Freihofer, right, of we really need to make patients know this is not going to be a walk in the park, Freihofer said. She's from the American Medical Association, by the way, and an advisory community. They are going to know they had the boop. They are probably not going to feel wonderful, but they've got to come back for their second dose. And it went through, muscle pain, chills, headache. These were just some of the weaker side effects. I mean, it literally said it wouldn't be a walk in the park. Again, is that misinfo? Is that disinfo? Jen Psaki. Now we're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of counts after all. So if you want to see all this, and we'll talk about it soon. We'll talk about DARPA. We'll talk about maybe that. Oh, I thought that was eradicated. Nope, that was last September. And, of course, that disappeared. So we can't really talk about that. We can't go through their profiles. And let me tell you, the profiles look pretty funny. So we're wrapping it up over on YouTube. I want people, again, we want to get to 30,000. 30,000. So if you haven't made the free Rockfin account, do so. Go follow Jason Burmis. We're literally less than 4,000 people away. We can be the first independent media on the platform to 30,000. And quite frankly, I want to be the first account to 50,000. That's a long way away, maybe. But with your help and your thirst for free speech, maybe you're going to come over. So you